Welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host Pinky, and today I'm going to be talking about Married at First Sight. So if you'd like to see more, then just stay tuned.
I'm also dropping another video featuring these curls and how I got them, so make sure you check out this video as well.
The link is down below. Like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. So I'm going to start with them all together, and then I'm going to talk about them individually. So once again, I feel like Amani and Woody are like MVPs whenever they all get together. I feel like Amani and Woody be giving some pretty good advice, and maybe it's because they're doing so well together. I don't know, but I usually agree with the advice that Amani and Woody give. Anyway, the men, they're meeting up together playing pool or whatever. Brett is talking about Olivia and how they're like, you know, having a conflict over finances and how she makes more than him. And Brett was just really like, Brett is just so sarcastic that sometimes it's hard to, even when he's right, sometimes it's hard to take his side with all that sarcasm, because it's like, be serious for a second. Like, because how am I supposed to receive what you're saying when you have a little attitude, passive aggressive, sarcastic attitude about it? How am I supposed to like really receive what you're saying? He said he had some spreadsheets ready for Olivia. I thought that was funny. And then he was just saying how, you know, she's not gonna be able to get the 5-star accommodation. She's gonna have to settle for the 2 to 3-star accommodations. And Woody said that's never gonna fly. And I totally agree. That's never gonna fly with her. And Woody also said that, you know what I'm saying, you just gonna have to get over the fact that she make more than you. A lot of people feel like he feels a way about it. I'm not quite sure. I don't necessarily think he feels a way about not making as much money. I think he feels a way about her wanting him to spend all his money for these extravagant things. But I do agree with Woody. She ain't never gonna stay in no 2 or 3-star hotel. Y'all just gonna have to budget for the more expensive place. Maybe save up for it. So then they move on to Henry, and you know, Henry talks about the little conflict that him and his wife had, and I'm going to talk about that when I talk about them. But you know, basically he said that he called her high maintenance, and everybody was like, whoa, 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 Henry, you can't be calling her high maintenance. Even if she is, you can't be saying that. And I'm like, I really wish Henry could articulate himself better, because if he was able to explain to them what is actually going on, I think they would be able to relate to him more, and they probably would even be on his side. But they just, you know, he can't when he get with the fellas, he just can't really, you know, let it all, he can't let his hair down. Over here bragging about getting his little smooches here and there, and I'm just like, poor Miles. But you know what, you get your wins where you can, Miles. I'm not mad at it. Bennett said he hadn't even got that far, which kind of shocked me a little bit, because I would think that him and Amelia would have at least kissed each other by now. But you know, whatever works for them. They seem to be very happy at the pace that they're going. Once again, we get back to Henry not being aggressive. And like I said, he just doesn't explain his situation correctly. But Woody is telling him, look, you just need to go ahead and jump her bones. And of course, Henry turns red, you know. And I'm just like, y'all just don't understand why he don't want to. I don't even think he wants to at this point. So then we get to the women. Amelia expresses her concern about possibly having to leave New Orleans. And, you know, she tells the girls that he has built his own tiny house. And, you know, that she kind of doesn't, she's kind of nervous about him possibly having to leave it. And Christina says something slick about Henry's house being a tiny house. And it's like, nah, girl, you can't be throwing shade and we ain't even seen your house. You claim you lived in New Orleans and we didn't get to see where you were staying. He didn't even pick you up from your mama's house. So I just, you know, all the shade is like not needed. A bunch of people already think you homeless. So I just wouldn't even go there. So she tells the girl she thinks Henry needs to step up with doing things around the house. And that made me think, you know, earlier he talked about him buying the groceries. Like, she went and got the groceries, but he sent her money. So is he like purchasing the things that you are picking out? Because I feel like that's him doing his part. Like, if he's buying it, now I guess if y'all are splitting the cost, that's one thing. But if he's purchasing the things, like, what's the big deal? But she said she doesn't want to do all the planning and all the doing, and she wants him to take charge, and he's not initiating intimacy. But the thing is, I could agree with her wanting him to take charge and, you know, take more responsibilities around the house. But, you know, you can't expect him to initiate intimacy with you when you're consistently doing things to turn him off. Amani says maybe she should be more affectionate, and that'll help him to be more affectionate. And she says she feels strange to initiate with a man she never has. And Amani was like, well, you need to tell him what you need. I'm just going to move to Christina and Henry since we're on them already. I'm done with Christina arguing with these producers and breaking like the fourth wall or whatever. Why are you consistently doing that? I mean, I understand that Henry is like a tough cookie to crack, but you constantly going off on the producers about that, that's not helping anything. Like, what is that doing? You need to be taking your frustration out on him. And I feel like she did do that a little bit this episode, but going off on them, you're just being nasty for no reason. You're giving me big Brandon vibes from last season, and I'm not here for it. I'm tired of her going off on the producers for no reason. They just doing their job. Didn't nobody tell you to sign up for this show? I know you feel like you probably got a dud, but that's what happens when you put finding a husband in somebody else's hands. So they were like hanging up some pictures, and she was trying to cut the scene short, and just the way she cut that scene, and she was just like, I thought you just needed this much time. It just makes me feel like she definitely put it on a show for the cameras, and she's definitely not being herself when she be talking in these confessionals. I feel like she's just putting on a show. That's why what she says in the confessionals and what's actually happening doesn't match up, because she's being dishonest. So at this point, you could see Henry getting upset, and I was just like, in my mind, before he said anything, I was like, Henry need to put his meekness to the side. You know, all them gangster confessionals you be having, you need to bring that to the forefront and put your foot down with your wife, because this impatience is turning you off, and you have to be vocal about it. It's time out for him being quiet and nonchalant, and just because you don't like her, you just gonna shut down. No. Because I agree with her. She was like, why are you here then? So she accused him of not being thankful when she went grocery shopping. He said he did thank her, and he Venmo'd her the money. And he also said that she never thanks him for paying for things. I was like, so you can't be throwing jabs, and you can't be expecting something out of Henry that you don't offer yourself. He also confronted her about her impatience, and he said that he also gets frustrated with having to talk to a camera and express his feelings. I'm sure because Henry seems like a very quiet and shy person, and that doesn't like to, like, you know, open up like this much to this degree. So he said he feels frustrated as well, but he doesn't take it out on the producers. And I was just like, go off, Henry. Get her together. Let her know. I was like, finally, please. It was time. Somebody had to tell her. And Henry was going to go as far as to like tell her like each day that she was being impatient, because apparently it's something that happens very often. And she was just very combative and very defensive. He was being a little passive aggressive. It was kind of funny though, I ain't gonna lie. And she asked, why doesn't he leave? And you know, Henry seems like he wants it to work, but this is just a bad matchup. He's not here for her attitude at all. And unless she changes it, I don't see how he is going to be attracted to her. And he's not going to be the aggressor, so I don't know how she's ever going to really be attracted to him. I ain't never seen Henry communicate better than he did in this scene. So I'm going to need for you to keep it up. We shouldn't have to she shouldn't have to poke and prod you to get you to speak up, Henry. You know, that's the problem I have with him. You need to speak up regardless of whether somebody like provokes you with an attitude, or, you know, has to like ask you a question, you should be able to say what's on your mind. So later on in the episode, after she talked with the other ladies, she admitted that she was wrong and she apologized to him. And she almost messed it up all over again when she asked him what did he want to drink, and he told her, and she was like, well, maybe we should drink this. No, girl, he told you what he wanted. See, that would make me mad too. That would make me mad too. But at that point, I'd be like, look, I already told you what I wanted to drink. That's what I want Henry to do. You know, don't just be passive aggressive about it in the confessionals. Tell her. So they have a little gathering with their friends, and it was kind of awkward. It was like a very mismatched group of people. It was a couple of older people there, and yeah, people are standing there awkward. Henry and Christina weren't really making it no better, wasn't really like introducing people to one another. It's like, y'all need to learn how to be a better hospitable host. But it got really awkward when Kristen walked in. That was the girl at his wedding that said she had no respect for Christina, even though they were married. But the thing about Henry is he really did come into his own during that party, and maybe because he was surrounded by his friends, it seemed like he really kind of let loose, and he was saying some things that were like kind of funny, that were really cracking me up, but he was like saying it under his breath. So Kristen, his friend, says it takes him some time to warm up to people, and it may seem like he's standoffish, but it just takes him some time to warm up. Where have I heard this before? Oh yeah, Karen. He really helped her when she lost her sister. So he obviously is a very compassionate person. He has plenty of personality. He just don't like Christina. That's what I've came to the conclusion. He can do it. He can mingle. He was over with the other group talking with them. He had really no issue, even though it was kind of awkward. He didn't mind talking. He just don't like Christina, and he obviously shuts down when he doesn't like someone. And yeah, you can't just shut all the way down. Christina was over there spilling her guts to his friends, and meanwhile her friends was over there being like super intrusive with Henry. He was handling it well, but I would have had to shut them down a little bit. That I would have had to shut that one particular guy friend, I would have to shut him down a little bit. He was very intrusive, trying to get into their, you know, intimate life, and that is none of your business. Like, I never understand. I'm sure the producers tell them to ask that question, but that is just too much. You can't be asking me all my private business type of questions, because I'm gonna have an attitude about it. I ain't gonna lie. So later on, they're, you know, having a dinner with each other, and she's trying to start conversation with him, and she said, what's your favorite childhood memory? Henry couldn't really come up with nothing. He was just saying, well, you know, when we were little, me and my little brother used to argue a lot. We butt heads a lot. And I guess that wasn't good enough for Christina, but at least he said something. You know, a lot of times Henry just sit there and look at her, so at least he said something. So she was like, well, aren't you gonna ask me something? He was like, well, what's the favorite meal that your mom has cooked? And she just completely passed the question. It's like, okay, girl, either you want to have a conversation with this man or you don't. He tried to ask you a question. You're not giving him anything. Like, which one is it? I'm so frustrated with both of them equally. I'm equally frustrated with both of them. I could see why each one of them are frustrated with one another, and it's frustrating me. So she blew up once again, went off on the producers. Do y'all have a list of questions? Because this is not working. She's frustrated because he's not engaging. She feels like she's always the bad guy because she's the one who has to initiate everything. And she told him, you got to help me out. And he said, I tried. You said pass. And she was like, well, you don't ever ask me anything deep. And he was like, we were having a lighthearted conversation. Henry was kind of cracking me up with these little sly comments he was answering her back. She low-key stormed out. He was supposed to come up with something to say. And yeah, she was still upset and trying to argue. And he was like, look, I'm getting out of here. I'm not going to argue with you. So he just completely dipped. Henry was done with it. He wasn't going to deal with her attitude. And I just don't know what to say, y'all. Both of them get on my nerves. Neither one of them are in the right. Neither one of them present themselves as someone who is ready to be married. Neither one of them. Both of them have major issues to work on. Because Christina, you can't go around here treating people the way you do. That's very unattractive, because you are rude and you are impatient, and that can be a major turnoff. Henry, you don't talk and you shut down, and I'm gonna need for you to say what's on your mind, because that's annoying. I would hate to have to guess what's on your mind every 2 seconds as well. I'm sitting up here talking to myself because you don't want to say nothing. All right, let's move on to Amani and Woody. I really don't have much to say about Amani and Woody because they just click so well. I mean, even though Woody can be a little bit problematic, I feel like Amani is gonna, like, you know, keep him in line. But so far, they're just, I don't know, they're just so cute. They're the cutest couple. I love seeing black love in action. So Woody made her breakfast, and you know, it was a nice little spread. He gave her flowers, and then when I saw what the breakfast was, it was bacon. It was bacon, egg, and biscuit sandwiches. But you know what, that's still, you do what you can do, Woody. You do what you can do. That was still cute. And he's just like completely gushing over her, and I thought that was so adorable. They're like, you know, really into each other, you guys. So later on, they had a little get together with their friends. One of his friends said that he's been MIA, and he can tell that he's really trying to be a good husband and that he's really into Amani. Because, you know, I guess he would have hit him up by now. So after the game, the women sat with each other, the men sat with each other, and his cousin was in the room with the girls, and she said she was worried about Woody not being ready to be married at first, but now that she sees them together, you know, they seem to mesh well, so she's at ease. Her mind is at ease, I guess, so she can see that maybe he actually was. Maybe he's proving everybody wrong. I remember all of them at the table saying they was completely shocked and they could not believe Woody was trying to, Woody, you? They did not try to play it up for the cameras at all. They really was not confident that Woody was ready to be married, but maybe he's proving them all wrong. Let's move on to Amelia and Bennett. At the beginning of this episode, Amelia and Bennett were like eating together, and you know, I guess he made her some peanut butter and banana sandwiches, and he let her have the last one, and they just gave each other the cutest little hug. I'm like, y'all are just so cute. It's the same way I feel about Amani and Woody. Like, they're just gushing all over each other, and it's so cute. So Bennett met up with his friend who was not at the wedding, and so that made the rest of this conversation a little bit odd to me. Like, you were not even at his wedding. I mean, maybe she had something else she had to do, a prior engagement, but you weren't even at the wedding. You have all this to say. He brought up the possibility of him having to move, and she was not happy about that at all. She feels like if he moves, there will be a void in their friend group, and I'm just like, girl, you're gonna have to grow up. You're gonna have to grow up. I don't care if y'all have been friends since college. I don't care if y'all have been friends since kindergarten. People grow up and they have to move away from their hometown sometimes. People have to live their own lives. And she says she has mixed feelings about following someone you just met. I mean, yeah, he just met her, but he's married to her. She was just very adamant about him not leaving, and it's like, well, girl, do you want him or not? Like, I don't know, y'all. I was a little bit confused because I'm like, the way she was going so hard about not wanting him to go, I'm like, girl, do you want him? Did you have a crush on Bennett? Is he the one that got away for you? Or if so, you should have done something before this, because he's married now. Maybe you should have came to the wedding and objected whenever they asked about it. Maybe you should have been outside his place the night before with a boombox. I don't know, but if you felt some type of way about him getting married, if you want him here so bad, you should have said something before now. He married now. And maybe Bennett do need to leave, because this friend is a little bit too involved, and I just wouldn't even trust her in my relationship. I wouldn't trust her with information about my relationship, because she's a little bit too involved. Your opinion don't really hold that much weight in his marriage. I just want you to know that. I know that's your friend, and your opinion probably has held weight for a long time, but he's married now and it's different. So later on in the episode, they invite their friends over, and their friends really mesh with one another. Bennett and Amelia want them to paint a mural for their place, and you know, they all got together and they're just talking and laughing and joking. They had a really good time. And when it was all said and done, they hung the mural up, and it was surprisingly much better than I would have thought. They have a lot of artistic friends, I could tell, because they actually, you know, knew what they were doing. I thought it was gonna come out looking like a 5th grade painting, but you know, it actually came out pretty good. Next, let's talk about Olivia and Brett. At the beginning of this episode, they both met up with their friends. I hate to say it, but I was surprised Brett had a friend. He did have one, because for a while it was looking like he only had his brother. So I'm glad he has a friend. Both of them are very sarcastic with one another. They brought up the fact that they had conversations about finances with Pastor Cal. Brett felt like Pastor Cal was just being super messy. He didn't see why Pastor Cal was bringing up these serious issues, and it's like, Brett, it's because y'all are married and y'all need to discuss these serious issues. If it were not for Pastor Cal coming in here and stirring that up, would y'all have been able to discuss it in a healthy way later on in this episode? I don't know. But somebody needed to bring it up in a serious way where y'all can actually, you know, put your cards out on the table, and he could counsel y'all into getting out of your feelings and actually discussing it in a very, you know what I'm saying, non-emotional way. So I don't know. I did not like the way he was trying to like talk about Pastor Cal. Pastor Cal in that moment was not being messy at all. And yeah, I didn't like the way he was talking about Pastor Cal. He was just feeling like it was just a bunch of things at one time and everything's going at such a fast pace. But it's like, Brett, you decided to get married to someone at first sight. What do these people not understand? Yeah, things are moving at a fast pace. If you wanted things to go slower, you should have stayed on your dating app and not signed up for this show. But at the end of the day, Brett said he saw a lot of red flags during that meeting. It's like, Brett, I am on your side on a lot of this, but your attitude is the reason why a lot of these conversations go left. Now, Olivia has her ways too, but you contribute to it. And so later on in the episode, Brett's cooking for her. He's cooking dinner, and I'm like, that's really cute. And she brings up her finances. She was like, well, let's plan out a budget. Let's start budgeting things. And she finally showed him her finances, and I'm glad she brought it up, because she was being very offended by the fact that he, you know, was saying that she frivolously spends money, and she, you know, was taking offense to that a lot. And it's like, I'm glad y'all finally put it all out on the table so we can stop having the same argument over and over without, you know, laying it out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to see what it is y'all are talking about. Okay, and so he was punching in, you know, the different expenses that she has every month, like the rent, like her insurance, you know, things like that. So he was trying to get her to see where she could tighten up in certain areas. For instance, she spends about $500 a month eating out. I'm like, she spends $500 a month eating out. He said you could literally save money by meal prepping. He's willing to cook. So instead of her having to spend so much money on eating out all the time, since she doesn't cook, he'll cook, and that'll save money. That can go to the entertainment budget. But when it was all said and done, she was completely happy with the budget and how that turned out. And I'm just looking at her like, see what happened when you listen? See what happens when you listen? And stop being defensive. Because I feel like that's all he was trying to say from the very beginning. Mind you, he was saying it in a jacked up way with a bad passive aggressive attitude. That's jacked up on his part. But she was wrong for being bullheaded the entire time and not really wanting to, you know, be pliable when it comes to that. This little small win for them made me kind of happy and a little bit hopeful that possibly they'll be able to, like, you know, work together to make this marriage work. Hopefully. If they can't make it work, I want it to work. So that was nice to see. Now finally, let's talk about Karen and Miles. Miles wants for Karen to communicate with her words, how she feels, so he can know where they stand. Like he said that his love language is words of affirmation, and you know, he needs to hear how she feels. He said he can't read her, and obviously who could be able to read Karen? She's very kind of like closed off, so understandably he needs for her to communicate. And he also said he wants a few compliments every now and then. I'm glad that he took Pastor Cal's advice and was telling Karen what he needs from her, because it was a little bit sad last week when he was just totally trying to cater to her and didn't even know what he wanted. So he communicated those things to her, and she said that, you know, she's just not one of those people that's gonna walk in and be like, you look good, boy. Like she did compliment him and say he looked nice, but it was after he prompted her. So Karen is gonna have to step up her game and just compliment the man. Give him a few compliments every now and then. Oh, I like your shoulders. That beard, I love that beard on you. It just, ooh, it looks so good. Like just little things like that. Don't have to be nothing too crazy. She also says that she moves very slow, very, very slow. And I'm like, what's up with all these people that move so slow? And y'all hit 20 on 10 to get married, but then all of a sudden you want to take it slow. You're already married now, so you have to speed it up a little bit. I mean, I understand a lot of people in the comments be like, well, she's reserved and, you know, she's moving at her own pace, and that's fine, but you also need to give Miles what he needs, because he's doing everything in his power to try to appease you in any way that he can. And that's why a lot of people are like feeling a way towards Karen. It's because he's putting in all the work and she doesn't seem to be putting in any. So they get to the subject of kissing, and she says she's open to kissing, but she won't initiate it. And she has Miles apprehensive to try, because last week she was just like, you know, it's kind of weird for you to walk up behind me and hug me and kiss me on the cheek and do things like that. So I can understand why Miles is apprehensive, because you already said it's uncomfortable for you. She said, well, you know, I know you're respectful, so I'm not gonna call the police if you go in for a kiss. And he was just like, well, how am I supposed to know that? The way you act, I just, you know, like, once again, he said he can't read her. He don't know. So do he need to kiss you or not? Do you want him to make a move or not? And I just feel like a lot of what I feel like she can really be confusing with the messages that she sends. Even though Miles was apprehensive, he was very persistent with letting her know, look, these lips are available. I have Carmex right over there, chapstick, if you need for me to moisturize. You know, these lips are ready. They ready when you are. I mean, and it's just a kiss. Like, I feel like if she would open herself up to a little bit more intimacy, maybe they could get comfortable with each other. Maybe she could get comfortable with him and start trusting him quicker. So they didn't show us this immediately in that moment, but it seemed like the same day because they had the same things on. But while all the girls were together, Amelia asked if if Miles had laid a kiss on her, and he kissed her that same night. They did it on camera, and you know, it was a nice little smooch, and I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. He initiated it, you know, so you can't say that he didn't initiate it. He initiated it and she kissed him back. It was a little awkward, but I feel like baby steps. So I'm gonna give Karen her props, baby steps, because she could have just been like, nah. Later on that night, they had friends and family over. Karen's friend pulled Miles to the side and was like questioning him and, you know, telling him that, you know, she has a very stressful job and what will he do to help her de-stress when she leaves work. And Miles said he saw something was wrong with her car and was trying to fix her car, get the groceries, wash the clothes. He already said last week he was going to do laundry. Karen, if you don't kiss this man, he at least deserves a kiss for fixing your car, getting the groceries, doing laundry. At least give him a smooch for that. Come on. he putting in work overtime. So she tells him that sometimes she can get stuck in her professional mode, and he can see where she's coming from with that. And sometimes she needs to, and she tells him sometimes he just needs to go ahead and take the lead. I feel like her friend gave him some good advice. So while they're talking, Karen is over on the other side of the room talking about sister. Karen says that he's a giver and he wants to be everything for everybody, but she wants him to hold back a little bit because she's a giver as well. She wants to give some too. And sister was like, look, that's a good one over there. And I feel like the sister was a little skeptical of Karen, because it's like, Miles is such a good guy. What is there to be, you know, super critical of? If you say you're a giver the way Miles is a giver, I'm sure he'll receive whatever you give him, but you just ain't giving him that much. He's overjoyed by the little bit you've given him already. Imagine if you give him a little bit more. So I don't necessarily think he need to pull back. You just need to pull up. So they played Truth or Dare, and basically the Truth and Dares was only for them. I'm like, that is like kind of like the most awkward thing I've ever seen in my life, to have people read off Truth or Dare and it's only 2 people that have to participate in it. But it was good for Karen and Miles because it kind of pushed them out of their comfort zone a little bit. Well, her out of her comfort zone. He had to, you know, smell her armpit. She had to sit on his lap for the entirety of the game. I was like, She looked like she got a little comfortable in that lap. And then they dared them to kiss. And she was like, that ain't on the card. And it was on the card. So they gave each other another smooch. Shout out to Miles. He got 2 kisses this episode. 2 kisses back to back like that. I'm sure he was on cloud 9. You better go, Miles, get your smooches. Anyways, y'all let me know how y'all feel about this episode down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I would love to hear your opinion. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.